Hello everybody and welcome back to another SAT math video, and today I'm going to be covering a couple algebra concepts including some linear expressions and equations and inequalities, and then there's going to be one practice problem regarding like circles. So first, this skill that we're going to be focusing on is these linear inequalities in one or two variables. So first, we have a question here. Adam's school is a 20-minute walk or a 5-minute bus ride away from his house. The bus runs once every 30 minutes, and the number of minutes W that Adam waits for the bus varies between 0 and 30. Which of the following inequalities gives the values of W for which it would be faster for Adam to walk to school? So we're trying to find when it would be best for Adam to walk to school, and it takes him 20 minutes to walk to school. So given that, the inequality should be that the 20 is facing the side, like 20 is facing the side where it's less than the bus ride and the wait time. Because if 20 is less than both the bus ride and the wait time, then it would just be faster to walk, right? So what I'm seeing here is that 20 is not on the less than side here, nor is it on the less than side here. So we can eliminate one of those. Now, the question is, looking at these, when Adam is taking the bus, how much time is he taking? Well, going off the question, we see that the bus ride is 5 minutes, so it's going to take at least 5 minutes. And then he also has to wait a certain number of minutes. So the question is, are you subtracting 5 minutes from the wait, or are you adding 5 minutes? Well, it doesn't make sense to subtract it because why? Because you're waiting and then you're also taking the 5-minute bus ride. So you have to add on the 5 minutes. So knowing that, we can eliminate this, and we can say that this is the total time it would take for the bus, and this is his walking time. So if his walking time is less than the total time it takes to wait for and ride the bus, then it would be beneficial for him to walk. So D is going to be our correct answer there. Now, the second problem for this topic is another word question. A cargo helicopter delivers only 100-pound and 120-pound packages. For each trip, the helicopter must carry at least 10 packages, and the total weight of the packages can be at most 1,100 pounds. What is the maximum number of 120-pound packages that the helicopter can carry per trip? So for this question, we can use Desmos, but first we should set up the inequalities. So what do we notice here? It's saying that there's two types of packages, and the helicopter can carry, or has to carry, at least 10 packages. So let's say that our 100-pound packages are called X, and our 120-pound packages are called Y. If the helicopter has to carry at least 10, then you would say X plus Y, which is the total number of packages, is greater than or equal to 10, because X plus Y is the total amount, and it has to be at least 10. So that's what we get there. And then we say that the most the helicopter can carry is 1,100 pounds. So how do we figure that out? Well, if we take the weight that the 100-pound packages contribute, right, because X is our 100-pound packages, and you multiply it by 100, then you get the weight that contributes, plus, using the same reasoning, the 120-pound packages, or the weight that contributes. Well, since the helicopter can carry at most 1,100 pounds, this has to be less than or equal to 1,100. Now, a way to do this would be just to try the answer choices, right? So for A, for example, it's saying that y equals 2, and if y equals 2, then x has to at least equal 8. And typically, for this question, you might notice that we want to go with the smaller answer here because x theoretically could be bigger, but we want to go with the smallest answer because that will keep our weight here lower than anything else. So if we plug these numbers into the weight, well, 8 times 100 is 800, right? And then 120 times 2 is 240. So this equals 1040. which is less than our 1100, so it could be an answer choice. But just keep in mind that that's 2, right? So now we go with B. Well, B is saying y equals 4 and x equals 6 if we go with the smallest numbers. So using the multiplication here again, we get 600 plus 480, which is 1080, which is still less. So we already know that A is not going to be the answer because B has 4 120-pound packages, and that also works for a weight amount. So B could be the answer. But let's try C. So C, it's saying that both y and x equal 5 because you're going with the lowest amount still. So using that, we have 500 plus 5 times 120, which is 600. And that is exactly our 1100. Can't go above that. So we already know because of this one then that B is not going to be the answer. So we can put a question mark here. But given that the weight has increased each time we've plugged it in, what do you think is going to happen with D? You can guess that the weight is going to be over 1100, so it can already be eliminated from the answer choices, but we can try it anyways. So we would have x equals 4 and y equals 6. Now that would leave us with 400 plus 720, which equals 1120, which is greater than our allowed weight. So using just that math, and that can take some time, we can see that C is going to be the correct answer here. But if we go to Desmos, I've plotted the equations here already, and we can see that this amount, 5, which shows that 5 120-pound packages and 5 100-pound packages, it shows that it's the max already because it's on the lines, and there's no other y point that's higher that exists in both the inequalities. So that also shows that this is going to be the answer, and that can be done a lot faster than doing algebra like by hand, obviously. So let's go to the next question. So this focus skill, or these next 2 questions, is going to be based on linear equations in one variable. So we have another word problem. Hector uses a tool called an auger bin to remove to remove corn from a storage bin at a constant rate. The bin contained 2,400 bushels of corn when Hector began to use the auger. After 5 hours of using the auger, 19,350 bushels of corn remained in the bin. If the auger continues to remove corn at this rate, what is the total number of hours Hector will have been using the auger when 12,840 bushels of corn remain in the bin? Well, basically, this is just trying to find like a slope, a linear equation. And you can realize that we have this point sort of 0. Let's say our x is hours and our y is bushels, right? So we have 0, 24,000, and 5 hours, 19,350. Now, using this, or setting it up like this, you can kind of see that, well, we might have to go for a slope equation. Because it's removing the corn at a constant rate. And because of that, we know that it's going to be linear. Since the rate is not changing, it has to be linear, or it should be linear. So using that, how do we set up our slope equation? Well, just like any other slope equation, we're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that will be our 19,350 minus 2,400 over 5 minus 0. And what slope does this result with? We get negative 930. Now, given that, we can set an equation as y, which is the number of bushels at a constant or some time, equals negative 930x, because that's our hours, and then plus our starting amount, which is 2,400, or 1,000, sorry. So we have to find when, or how many hours it will be when this 12,840 bushels are left. So to find this, we can set our y equal to 12,840, and then set this equal to our equation here. Now to solve this, you just have to use some simple algebra terms or linear algebra terms. So we can subtract 24,000 from both sides. And then that leaves us with negative 11,160. And then we set this equal to our negative 930x. And then we can divide each side by negative 930. So doing that, we get that 12 hours as our answer choice. So D is going to be our answer choice, 12 hours. Hopefully that was pretty simple to follow. And then the next question, a tree had a height of 6 feet when it was planted. The equation above can be used to find how many years it took the tree to reach a height of 14 feet. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 2 in this context? Well, if n is the number of years that it takes the tree to, well, let's just say n is the number of years, right? And basically, by looking at this equation, we can kind of infer that this is going to be the rate at which the tree is growing, because you're waiting to see, or this equation models how long it takes to reach the height of 14 feet. So as n increases, as the years increase, you can see that the tree or the height is increasing. Like for example, if we use n equals 1, then we would get that the tree is 8 feet tall. But if we use n equals 2, we would get that the tree is 10 feet tall. Now, based off that, what can we say that the 2 in front of the n is the best, or what is the best interpretation of that? Well, what makes sense then is that it's going to be the average number of feet that the tree grew per year, because we can see that when n equals 1, the 2 is making it 8, and when n equals 2, it is becoming 10. So it's increasing by 2 feet per year. So that's the best answer choice for that one. And then the final question I have here is sort of unrelated. It's more of a circle question. But circle A has a radius of 3n, and circle B has a radius of 129n, where n is a positive constant. The area of circle B is how many times the area of circle A? Well, keep in mind that the area of a circle is found using pi r squared. So, and each of the radius are shown. So the area of B here is going to equal pi times 129n squared, and the area of A is going to equal pi times 3n squared. Now, to find how many times greater the area of circle B is, we're going to have to do the area of B over the area of A. So, after some quick computing, we get that the area of B is going to be 16,641 pi n squared, and the area of A is going to be 9 pi n squared. So we can see that the pi crosses out and the n squared crosses out. So it's basically just 16,641 divided by 9, which leaves us with answer choice D, 18,000 or 1,849. And that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe, especially if you found this helpful.